This is my Crosman Custom Shop 2400 22 caliber. The 2240 is pretty much the same thing with a more rudimentary trigger, but with the same grip frame and with plastic grips in 22 caliber only. These you can get in 22 and in 177. As you can hear, it's pretty loud. It's a reasonable amount of power too. It's about, I think, with a 13.5 grain or so pellet, I think it does about 450 feet per second, maybe 500. It's almost as loud as a 22 short. Not quite, but maybe a 22 short from a rifle length barrel. But this is great for rolling cans. I'm going to shoot at the swinging target, see if I can hit it. Now I hit the can again. Huh. Pulled to the left a little bit. Hit just below it. When I shoot my CO2 guns, I always put 1 drop of non-detergent motor oil on the CO2 cartridge before I insert it. That way it gets a little bit of that oil through the valve and keeps the seals in good condition. I'm hitting low. I need to raise it up a little bit. There we go. I hit the swinger that time. Now a CO2 cartridge, or powerlet as they're called, is good for about between 30 and 40 shots. Oh, I shot low again. I was aiming for the can that time. I might need to raise the sight a little bit. I don't know. Must have gone over it that time. You know, the pumpers are my favorite because you don't need anything but pellets. But I really like the CO2s because of the convenience. And these CO2 powerlets are cheap, so you know, and they're readily available too. They're cheap and they're easier than a PCP, although once you've got the ancillary items, especially if you've got a tank, you know, it just takes a few seconds to fill up a PCP gun and get it ready to shoot. But and even with the hand pump, you know, you pump it up. It takes a little while to pump it up, maybe 5 minutes or something, depending on the gun. And again, depending on the gun, then you get several shots. And with most of my 22 calibers, I get maybe about the same number of shots as a CO2 cartridge, 30 to 40, depending on the gun again. So, you know, and without the cost of the CO2 powerlets, but still, CO2 powerlets are worth having. CO2 guns are worth having. And of course, some of them are pre-fill. And that's kind of an in-between thing that you can do. If you want to get into something like a PCP, but you don't want to have to buy all that equipment, you can get a CO2 tank pretty cheap and get it filled cheaply. So that's kind of a step towards a PCP. And in fact, some of the early PCP guns, for example, the Discovery, which is based on the 22 series Crosmans, the Benjamin Discovery, specifically, what a Benjamin Discovery is basically a Crosman 2260 with a pressure tube, so a PCP tube. And I think the Discovery is discontinued now, but they might have in the latter part of the production. I don't remember for sure, but it kind of seems like they started marketing it as PCP only. But when it first came out, they marketed it as a dual fuel, either PCP or CO2, high pressure air or CO2. And it was, if I'm remembering correctly, it was lower powered on CO2, but more shots per fill. And so what you could do is you could have a Discovery and get it with the air pump, the hand pump, as a kit. It was about $400 or a little bit more. You got the gun and the pump. And this was before there were cheap high pressure air pumps available. And but you could get that, and you had a full power hunting gun that you had to pump up, you know, to get maybe 30 shots out of it. So you had to spend 5 minutes doing aerobic exercise. And then you could, if you wanted to, you could get a CO2 tank and fill it, and a CO2 tank and the fill attachment and everything was, I think you could get set up for around $100, and then it cost maybe $5 to fill it, or something like that. Maybe a little more, maybe a little less. But you know, then, so for a grand total of just a little bit over $100 maybe, you were set up to refill that thing for a year of use probably, because you could get a lot of fills out of it. So as long as it wasn't cold outside, and if it's cold outside you could still set up an indoor range, but you could shoot that thing every day on CO2, and then when you wanted to go hunting, use the air pump and pump it up with high pressure air and have more power. And like I said, I think the Discovery is discontinued now, but you can still do that. You can still build something like that by starting with a 2240 or a 2260, which is still available. And I'm pretty sure that you can still get the Discovery air tube to convert to PCP. Of course, another thing you can do is you can get a QB78, which is not a Crosman, but it's a copy of an older Crosman. It's a copy of the 60? I don't remember. Right offhand, I don't remember the model number, but it's a copy of a Crosman, that Crosman 22 caliber air rifle that took 2 CO2 cartridges, and it was only good for about 30 shots on 2 of them, but it was different from the 2260 and all the 22 series that replaced it, in that the tube was pressurized, and so when you put the CO2 cartridges in it and tighten down the cap, it would puncture the cartridges, both of them, and flood the tube, pressurize the tube. And you could get a cap that had a fill port on it, and if you had that cap, and it was only, you know, a few dollars for the cap, and you can still get it. You can do that now with the QB78. So you get a QB78 and get the bulk fill cap, and that way you can bulk fill it from your CO2 tank. If you got that, you know, with the QB78 you basically have 3 options. You can put CO2 powerlets in it, and in fact, if you only want to shoot a few shots, you could put one of the empty cartridges back in it and one fresh one, and go ahead and put the cap on it. This is with the standard cap I'm talking about. So you could do it that way, or with the fill cap, you can fill it with CO2 from a bulk tank and do it that way. Or another option is with the bulk fill attachment, you can go ahead and fill it with high pressure air. But the thing about that is you got to make sure to not go above maybe 1200 psi. Certainly not over 1500. But and you won't get nearly as many shots out of it as you will with CO2. But you can do that. And you can convert it to full-on HPA. Now the other option is you can get a QB79. That's the one that takes a tank. It's a QB78 with the addition of a tank block. So you can use a paintball tank on it, small one, either with CO2 or you get one of the regulated high pressure air tanks, a Ninja tank. And with that, and I've got a setup like that, and with my Ninja tank on it, I get about 150 shots on a fill. And I had to tune it to get the best combination of velocity and shot count for my purposes. And I was actually I wasn't going for maximum power. I was going for, well, more than factory power. Factory power is about 500 feet per second in 22 caliber with a 13.5 grain pellet. But I went for about maybe 700 feet per second, which is about the power of a fully pumped up Benjamin 392. And I get that level of power for 150 shots. But anyway, we've been talking about all that while shooting this. I've had this for, well, I've had it for several years now. Several years. About 7 years, I guess. And it's a lot of fun. And other than putting the shorter barrel than what it came with, the 2240 barrel, other than putting that on it, I haven't done anything to it. And I don't intend to, because, you know, as you can see, it does exactly what I want it to do, which is plink in the backyard when it's warm. And as you can see, even with these pellets that are not accurate in my my other air guns, it's accurate enough for what I want to do with this. In fact, I couldn't really ask for it to be any better, because I don't bench rest this. I just hold it just like a, you know, just like the plinking pistol that it is. Just hold it and shoot it. And so a more accurate pellet will pretty much be wasted on this for this use. We're going to stop now because I think velocity is dropping. It seems to be starting to shoot lower and lower. And we've also probably made this video long enough. So, thanks for joining.